I would just say that Barrow has been exposed in this process for generations, and it's not only oil and gas, but the whaling process.
Yeah. That's
yes,
Mayor? Okay.
yes,
That's
yes,
Mayor.
yes.
That's Mayor.
So
we'll get him
it's,
afterwards.
the reality is they've been exposed to this process for a lot longer time. They've had to do a lot of adaptation over the years, working with the military, working with the research process of the international polar year process, and all of those brings a whole different perspective to Barrow.
What is the thinking, though? I think perhaps, we heard Barrow's perspective. We went to Point Hope. What is the perspective of villages like Wainwright, which are probably going to be as close to ground zero as you get to offshore drilling?
I know Wainwright is being torn apart through this process right now. There's support from the village corporation to promote offshore drilling and working within the process. There is a lot of concern. I've done efforts to bring education into the region, working with Nuiqsut, a toxicologist, and others to give presentations to the school, to the community, to the corporations in the cities. In each and every one of these villages, there's been expression of concerns related to the subsistence health of the animals, changes that are affecting them, increased stress factors, increased problems with the safety of the food, concerns about changes that are happening to the animals, whether it's a cumulative effect of all the different things that are going on, climate change, the increased stress related to oil and gas development. There's a lot of concern out there.
Is the Inupiat culture of not wanting to project conflict or project disagreement masking the amount of disagreement there is over oil drilling?
I would say yes. I think that there's tremendous opposition to offshore drilling. The whole region has been in opposition to this. The willingness to get involved in the process to show where we stand has led to many people having repercussions and having difficulties in the process, but there is a lot of concern and willingness to be aggressive and outspoken in the process. It's different. We might not go out with the signs and saying our different things, but we show with our actions and how we interact and how we communicate, trying to educate people about our importance of our traditions and cultures. It's what we have to do.
But they're not going to be vocal about it so that politicians maybe in Washington will see it.
There's a process I've been involved in many different ways to try to communicate and work with others that can affect decision makers that are making decisions up here. And there are many of us that are doing this, but we're a smaller population. We're not as many of us are willing to do this process. There is a strong pull of elders when we need the process. We have key meetings like in Nuiqsut. If I were on the radio and I told them that we were having a meeting related to offshore, I would get every elder out to the meetings. It's just that important. In Barrow, it's different. The politics here are different. It's a lot harder to be involved in the process without getting the repercussions related to employment. A lot of the process to try to build opportunities from employment, you're controlled by industry, which has a rein on the process, and they have no comment clause as part of the contract. So if we work to get jobs, we can't speak out. And so in order to hope to pay the rent and to pay for the vehicle payments or whatever else we have going on in the life up here, we have to think of things on both ways.
Here in Barrows, it seems especially that the view seems to be is that, as expressed by the mayor yesterday, we have a lot of concerns about oil drilling, but if it's got to happen, or offshore drilling, it's got to happen, here's what we want to do, but we realize that that oil drilling provides revenue for us to build our communities. I mean, you've got that conflict of the garden versus the money.
The reality is there's still the core communities that still focus on subsistence. It's who and what we are. Even in Nuiqsut, our population is the closest community to oil and gas development. We have a well within 4 miles of the village. We have multiple sites associated. We have 3 pipelines on 3 sides of the community now. The reality is obtaining the year-round jobs and employment has not occurred. We were promised with Alpine that we would get 50 year-round jobs with CD1. Never happened. They never came in with job descriptions posting availability of different positions that were there. The things that they offered to us: spill response, bowl cooks, cleaning the camps, working with the trash pickups. Those were the jobs that were offered to us. None of the other permanent jobs associated with maintaining the runways, the roads, associated with the electrical opportunities of constructing these facilities, the increased opportunities of welding the pipes that are necessary there. It's been really hard to get that process.
So if they didn't offer it to you, where did it come from? Outside contractors?
The process has been to work within their own process. There's contractors available throughout various ways. Different region contractors get different parts of the pie. Like at Meltwater, Nana region got all of that jobs. Mm-hmm. That was the closest hard-packed road to Nuiqsut, 17 miles of road. None of that information came to Nuiqsut. It went to the Nana region. That's the way industry divides our region, divides our state, divides our local communities in opposition in this process, because we're all competing in the effort to try to do a little bit of hopes to try to do some of this process, but we're also compounding the reaction in Nuiqsut. Nuiqsut's gone through the hardest change because of the amount of activity around Nuiqsut. It's become the sacrificial lamb for the nation's energy needs.
Does the contracts for all these oil companies, do they go to white contractors or instead of going to native?
I would say a higher percentage of them go to. There has been better efforts from different processes. Arctic Slope Regional Corporation has put a great front effort in trying to gain contracts, and they have done a better process, but many of the other corporations still have just minimal process and success in obtaining any contract. So Wainwright has hopes that they're going to get more contracts in the offshore. They're protecting their onshore after listening to decades of comments from Nuiqsut and the changes that we had to go through with changes on land, changes affecting our subsistence, and changes on near shore affecting our fishing, changes with seismic activity affecting whaling. So their thoughts were, okay, we're going to protect the land, but we'll try to work in the ocean. It's a big toss-up in the process. Both processes can cause changes within the communities in different ways, and it compounds with each and every side.
Would the migration of animals in that community away from those communities be such that those communities actually could be destroyed?
There's a lot of concern about this. With the early seismic activity in the last 5 years, it took 4 years for the walrus to come back. There's a lot of concern about what's happening out there. We don't know what's going to happen. We know that some of these activities already caused deflection of the whales. With the Camden Bay seismic activity, we were whaling at Cross Island. The deflection of the whales occurred 20 miles off of Cross Island. Increased tow times, increased time to land the whale, decreased viable substance to harvest because these are huge animals. Increasing the tow time, the meat didn't last. We lost all the innards. We lost important parts of the food that were necessary for us because of these conflicts that happened. Increased tow times. We had to cut one of the whales loose when the weather changed. It took 20 hours to tow, and we were still miles from shore. And we had to cut the whale loose. That's a whole whale we lost for the village to harvest. It has happened before. It can happen again with increased activities without listening to the traditional knowledge, without listening to the local communities about what they do, what's important about what they do, the timing that's important for them to do, and ways to look at things that can be done and decrease the conflict to us.
So even if the oil companies say, we're not going to do any drilling, we're going to shut down completely during the whaling season, it's still not going to matter because the whales aren't going to immediately continue their previous migration routes.
It depends on what's going on within the process. Ships, the engines of these ships can cause enough noise that causes deflections, even without the seismic boom going on. So if you're just shutting down the ship's seismic boom and you're still running the engine and you're getting those noises, there's still going to be some conflict. Increased flight activity associated with these things that are going on, having planes come over, increasing the low flying aircrafts because of the activities that they're doing associated with that. That causes reactions to us. It decreases the time that we have to harvest. We have to travel farther to harvest. There are reactions to every step of the way. Increasing personnel to the area. It's a natural environment that didn't have people in these areas, so you increase equipment, personnel, contact, all of them causes reactions to the natural environment. It causes reactions to our traditional cultural uses.